I liked what Arne Slot said after the game, actually, where he said, if you played this game 10 times again in this way, 8 times it's going to be a draw. 1 time Arsenal win it, 1 time Liverpool win it. And this was the 1 time that Liverpool won it. It was a brilliant free kick. And we didn't really have an answer to that. So I get some concerns about some of the team selection decisions or some of the game management decisions. But I also think you have to recognize that Anfield is not a place we've won at since 2012. You know,
since Arteta was actually on the playing front.
So I really find it strange that so much of the post-game discussion is like, Arsenal should have just gone for it. Arsenal should just go to Anfield and win. It's the champions.
And Liverpool didn't exactly go for it to a degree.
Exactly. Liverpool did not go for it. These two teams respect each other a great deal. They cancelled each other out, and there was one moment of brilliance in that game that Liverpool were the beneficiaries of, right? I think, you know, you can't look at a game like this without all of the context, and that context of Liverpool being as good as they are, which they are. Our record at Anfield, which is not bad of late, but like I said, we haven't won there for over 10 years. We're also without Bukayo Saka, without Kai Havertz, without Ben White, without Martin Odegaard, without Leandro Trossard, basically, because we needed a goal and we didn't bring Trossard off the bench because he was basically injured. He was sort of there to make up the numbers, and you can make an assessment yourself as to whether or not that's the right thing to do, to have a player on the bench if he's not even capable of coming on. But I think if Trossard was 100% fit and we need a goal in the last 10, 15 minutes at Anfield, he's coming on. So he's not. So I have all these players who are not fit. And I think it's fair to ask, would we have seen a different kind of Arsenal performance or a different approach to the game if we had those players fit? I think
Saliba went down as well.
Oh, yeah, God, I forgot about that. Like William Saliba in the first minutes of the game, he goes
My
on.
heart dropped.
Same. You know, and big up to Christian Mosquera, who came in and did
very
brilliantly, by the way. But I think you can't look at that game and not think Arsenal they had more issues to deal with than Liverpool. Are you going to tell me Liverpool are going to play the same against Arsenal if they don't have Virgil van Dijk and they don't have McAllister and they don't have Mo Salah and they don't have Ekitike, for example? You know, what way are Liverpool going to play that game?
They're going to have to.
Are they going to go hell for leather at Arsenal? No, they're not.
Doesn't make sense.
You know, so I think, listen, we're like one free kick away from everybody coming away from Anfield going, okay, first 3 games of the season out of the way. We've got a decent point at Anfield. You'll take that all day long at this stage of the season. But we were beaten by a world-class goal, and you have to hold your hands up to that. But I cannot get my head around the idea that our approach to this game was wrong, because if you go to Anfield and just say, right, we're going to have a go, Liverpool will go, thank you very much. We will eat up that space that you leave as you're coming forward.
Not well.
And that's the reality. Like it or not, that is the reality of how that is going to play out. And let's remember as well that 70 minutes into this game, he brought on Odegaard and Eze for Mikel Merino and Gabriel Martinelli. Merino, a more functional player. Martinelli was having a terrible game. He sort of went for it a bit in those final 20 minutes. He said, right, it's 0-0, 20 minutes to go. I'm bringing on my captain and most creative player, and I'm bringing on our new summer signing on the left-hand side. That was not conservative. He could have made conservative changes. They weren't conservative. So I get it. Everyone's frustrated at losing. Everyone's frustrated at the fact that we lost to Liverpool in particular because of the title rivalry.
And now another year with no win at Anfield. So it's just it's a melting pot, really.
I really think you have to look at the context of this game. And I think if there is a complaint to be made, or if there is a real concern to be expressed about what we saw on Sunday, it's why do we have so many injuries at this point in the season? Why are we without these players? What is going on with our injuries at this moment in time that are forcing our hand? And I think the club have done really well this summer. I really like the summer business. We've pushed the boat out in terms of incomings. We're giving ourselves depth.
A
But
lot
let's
of
not
players.
ignore the fact that we are missing key important players really early in the season that would have made a difference at Anfield on Sunday.
Yeah, I think you're speaking facts. I think everybody's got a lot to say about how Arsenal play against the top six. And it's not that it's anything to brag about because it's not a trophy, but we haven't lost against the traditional top six in 2 years. And as Andrew said, for those of you listening, we had injuries and obviously Saliba's gone down. I'm not saying it was the most expansive football. I'm not necessarily saying I'm necessarily happy, but it does feel, maybe it's the media, but Arsenal are the only team expected to just go gun-ho, throw the kitchen sink at it from minute 0 to 90. And I agree with certain things. I do think we could have been a bit braver. I do think in general at times with Mikel Arteta, maybe he could take the handbrake off or do something a bit unpredictable. I do wonder if in hindsight, regardless of if Eze has only been here 2 minutes, if he felt like starting him. I don't necessarily think it's wrong, but I do think there's something in setting up not to win versus setting up to not lose versus to win, even though I don't think Arteta or Arsenal go out there and say, yeah, we don't want to win at Anfield. Yeah, we're just playing for set pieces. I do think generally, not isolated to necessarily Liverpool, but off the backdrop of last season, clearly attacking football, moving the ball quicker, finding different kind of solutions. That is something that we've struggled with, and that's something we have to add. But if you watch Arsenal and Liverpool, both teams set up to respect each other. If I'm completely honest, it was both teams, that it looked like 3 games into the season, nobody really looked fit. And in the second half, if I'm honest with you, several players looked like they were dying. I do think we could have created more. Obviously, the free kick, you hold your hands up. Nobody had that on their bingo card. But I do think the second half kind of is what led to our demise, because I actually think we started the first half well and ended it well. I think the game was kind of getting away from us. I'm a big fan of Zubamendi, but I did think he was dying out there and we were kind of getting overran and he gave away the free kick, and 9 times out of 10 that doesn't happen, but it kind of is what it is. You mentioned Martinelli, and I don't want to create a pylon, but it's very difficult not to speak about Martinelli. We know he's at that point now as a winger where he's in the team because of what he does going backwards. But like, what has gone on? Like, what has gone wrong for Martinelli? Is it the coaching? Is it Mikel Arteta? Is it Martinelli? Was he ever, I don't want to be disrespectful to him, but that season he had where he stood out, Andrew, was he ever that good? Or was it a thing where the system is just getting a lot out of him? Like, where are we at with Martinelli now? Because it's sad.
Well, yeah, it is. It is. I mean, I think what we're looking at is a player who's very, very low on confidence. Doesn't look like he's got a lot of self-belief. When he gets the ball, he doesn't look like he can make things happen, or he doesn't believe that he can make anything happen with the ball. His decision-making is wrong. People will have, I'm sure, seen a lot of the breakdowns of the Liverpool game and that moment early in the first half where he had a couple of opportunities to play the ball to Gyökeres. Instead, he took it on into the box. He dribbled, head down, lost the ball, and that's symptomatic and emblematic of where he is at this moment in time. Is it the system? I don't know. Maybe he does suffer a little bit with the lack of connection with the center forward because, well, for most of last season, or well, for the second half of last season, he didn't really have a center forward to play with.
Yeah.
Havertz was injured and Marino was there. He's a midfielder, did well enough. Trossard did, that the season where he did really well, it was Zinchenko, Xhaka, Martinelli on that left-hand side consistently. And maybe those 3 got the best out of each other in a way. Maybe there was something to that. It's worrying. I think as well, it's fair to say that I think he is capable of better. I think we have seen a lot better from Gabriel Martinelli. And what we're seeing as a player right now is completely and utterly out of form, in a real funk. That does raise questions about where his future lies or where his place in the pecking order is at this moment in time under Mikel Arteta. I don't think his form is in a place where you say he should be starting games right now. But I do think we can remember when we've got more from Gabriel Martinelli, when we've had exciting times at Gabriel Martinelli. And I think even still, we're sort of short a player or two, aren't we, who's got pace, who can get in behind. The reality at this moment in time is, if somebody sends Gabriel Martinelli in behind, are you confident that he's going to do the right thing? Are you confident he's going to apply the finish? No, but I think he's better than we're seeing at this moment in time. But what we're seeing at this moment in time requires him to sort of sit things out a little bit, and work his way back into first team contention, because, the form is just not good enough.
So then it leads me to ask you about Eze, because obviously when we signed Eze, everyone was happy, excited. He's coming back home. We never had it on our bingo cards that would happen, even the way that it all got hijacked. We all know he can play as an 8, as a 10 out wide. And I'm sure yourself and everybody listening, they've had their conversations. Where are you at with the whole, does he play in midfield? Does he play left wing? Do you just put him out there regardless? Because from what I saw against Liverpool, not that it was long enough in a case study, like, you better than Martinelli out there, but where are you at with that?
I really don't mind. I think this is an exceptional player who's got the ability to play from the left. I think what's interesting is the new signing, Piero Nkapie coming in, who's a bit more of an overlapping left back when he plays, which is interesting to consider. If you're thinking about Eze on the left-hand side, does he come inside and you've got Nkapie overlapping outside him, whereas Calafiori and Lewis Skelly tend to play that more inverted left-back midfield role, right? Calafiori plays wherever the hell he wants and was actually brilliant. Brilliant again. I thought he was brilliant against Liverpool. I thought he had Mo Salah
games on the trot now.
Yeah, I thought he was really, really good. So I do think that's something interesting to consider about where Eze is going to play. Like, if he plays on that left, he's not going to be the guy who's going to go on the outside. He's not going to be the guy who's burning fullbacks to get crosses in with his left foot. That's not his game. You don't want to ask him to do that. But do you want him operating in what's a good comparison here? Let's say somebody like Robert Pires for Arsenal a few years ago, who was a right-footed player playing on the left, typically or similarly elegant, but who was best when you got him into those more central areas, got him in around the box, the edge of the box. He could shoot, he could score. He was creative. I think there's something to that. So I'm curious to see what kind of combinations Mikel Arteta puts out. I also think Eze could start in the middle. Like, I think there was probably a good case to be made going into the Liverpool game, and it was probably something they considered. Could you play Eze instead of Odegaard in that position? Or could you shift Declan Rice over to the right and play Eze as the sort of left 8? I know the Rice Zubimendi connection has kind of changed things a little bit, because we saw Declan Rice dropping very deep against Liverpool, dropping between the centre half quite a lot. That's not where you would have wanted Eze to play, for example. But I think over the course of this season, he's going to play some on the left. He's going to play more centrally. I'm really not worried. I just think his quality is such that he will be part of this team. I expected, to happen pretty quickly after the international break, to be honest, where I think Martinelli's form is such that if you bring in Eze on the left for a little while and then see where it goes, nobody will be complaining, because I think he's got the quality to deliver from there, and then he's got the versatility to play minutes elsewhere as and when we need him as well.
And that's the thing. I think in real time, if you were to like put Eze out wide or put a bunch of these players in certain positions, a lot of fans would have a lot of things to say. But obviously, when the game is actually played in real time and you're watching it, just because on paper it says he's a left winger, it doesn't mean he actually is. And you made a great point with Hincapie. If Hincapie is overlapping, Eze's going inside, that's actually something I want to see from Mikel Arteta. I understand that we have to be very structured and everyone's got a certain position to occupy. But I do think people could swap positions, and, if Rice makes a run in behind, or like Eze goes inside, Rice might be a centre mid, so he holds the width. I just think we're at that stage where we could be a bit more unpredictable and go a bit more against the grain. And I think we've earned that right of being a household name. We are one of the best teams in the Premier and in Europe, but I do think we need to be a bit more random. This leads me to ask you then about Nwaneri, because I know, fair enough, Eze didn't start. We've spoken about Odegaard, he wasn't fit. Could it have, on one hand, I think it's too big of a game necessarily to start Nwaneri, but then I believe it's not. Could Nwaneri have been utilised, or even Miles Lewis-Skelly off the bench in midfield?
I have to say, I was quite shocked that Nwaneri didn't come on rather than Max Dowman. Like, I love the Max Dowman story. It's great. It's romantic. It just felt to me like Mikel Arteta bought into that in a sort of illogical way. Like, he's a very, from what we know of him, right? He's a very
methodical man.
Methodical, exactly. He thinks about everything that he does. He thinks about what he says, how he does it. And I think in this situation, we needed a goal at Anfield. And what we had on the bench was a player last season who almost got into double figures in goals. He got 9 goals last season, primarily playing from that right-hand side, right? So if he's going to take Madueke off, who was...
Big him up as well. He had a good
game. Thought he had a good game. If you're really looking for a goal, if you're looking for somebody who can strike the ball, if you're looking for somebody who can make a pass, if you're looking for somebody who can bang one in the top corner from 25 yards, that player is Ethan Nwaneri. It's not Max Dowman. So I found it really, really odd that Dowman got on ahead of Nwaneri. Trossard, maybe I understand because we talked about him. I think he was injured.
Yeah, because he might not be fit. Yeah.
But why not play Nwaneri in that position? And why not give yourself a better chance of scoring a goal than Dowman, whose talent and potential is outrageous. We all know that, but he's 15 years of age. It felt like Mikel Arteta made a decision with his heart rather than his head, and I think he's better listening to his head.
Sound like a fairy tale kind of thing,
you know. But again, I think there's a lot of football to play. There's going to be a lot of minutes to play. I think Nwaneri gives us something, you know. He came on for Odegaard against Leeds. I thought he was really good, very tidy, very efficient, not spectacular. But we also have to remember that was the first time in his senior career that he's really played in that position because most of his football has come on the right-hand side. So that's probably why he went for Merino ahead of Nwaneri. I would have preferred to see Nwaneri from the start against Liverpool. Personally, that's my personal preference, but we all know, as we said, that Mikel Arteta mostly makes decisions with his head. And he thought, well, Marino's got more experience. Newcastle gave Liverpool problems with a big, strong, experienced midfield.
That's a good point.
You know, so then it wasn't surprising to me that Merino started, but I did find the idea that Nwaneri didn't come on very, very odd. I think it was a bad decision by Arteta. But I think over the course of this season, as you said, we're going to have a lot of football. We've got Premier League, we've got Champions League, we've got cups that we want to go for this season, right?
And everyone wants to win the league.
Say again?
With a squad to do it now.
Yeah. Well, that's it. That's it. Yeah. You know, there is real scope for rotation. So there's going to be lots of game time for Nwaneri, who I think I'm really excited by, to be honest. I think seeing him in that midfield position and seeing him do things maybe a little bit differently from Odegaard could be part of what makes this team unpredictable. And listen, it's 3 games in. I think one of the things we have to recognize is that when you have a summer where you bring in 8 players, and
really unprecedented for us.
Really unprecedented. I can't remember it before. You can't remember it before. Nobody watching this can remember that before. I think we all like it, right? We all appreciate
the ambition.
All appreciate that. But I think we have to recognize that when you bring in 8 players, it's going to take a bit of time. It's going to take a bit of time for everything to gel and for everyone to sort of fit together and for everyone to understand where they are and for even for the manager to recognize what he's got at his disposal. But I do like the fact that some of the players that we've brought in this summer feel a bit at odds with the way Mikel Arteta has operated, right? That sort of cautious, handbrakey approach. Madueke is not a handbrake player. Gyökeres is not a handbrake player. We've got to learn to feed Gyökeres. Eze is not a handbrake player. Even in Capia at left back, he is not a handbrake player. So I think we have to just bide our time a little bit, because I think part of the strategy this summer has been to make us a bit more unpredictable, to make us a bit more random, and to bring elements to our game which have been missing that I think we all want to see. And that's just a bit more forward drive rather than, I don't want to say safety first, but players who want to go out there and make things happen rather than players who are a little too wedded to the structure.
Exactly. It's like they do say attack is the best form of defense. I don't want us to be a bit gun-ho, but I wouldn't even say we've lost our way. But as much as I like the fact that Arteta is methodical, he thinks about the opposition and what they're going to do, and he kind of stifles. And again, not that you can take away Szoboszlai's free kick, but you take away that kind of randomness of football. Statistically, and what we saw with our eyes is even, but that's actually what I think we're on the wrong side of 9 times out of 10. Is that that a goal like Szoboszlai scored, obviously it happened against our club, so I'm not happy. But that's why we watch football. Those moments that you can't predict. Couldn't tell you what the XG was from there, but it was probably something crazy. I kind of need that healthy randomness, and it feels like Arteta, and it's not wrong. We're very systemic and system-based first. So then it leads me to ask you a question like, do you think Arteta kind of has to be at war with himself? Because I do think if Kai Havertz was fit, considering everything, I don't think Marino starts. I think he goes with Kai. But you touched on Wanyeri. Could he have went like against the grain and went with a Wanyeri? Like, it's almost like he's gone from having no options, whether that's last season with injuries or even, let's face it, when we did have a strongest 11 last season, the 11 be out there. There's probably 2-3 off the bench that we knew would play or have a realistic chance of playing. Now you've got serious options in defense, let alone in attack. So like, do you think Arteta's kind of at war with, gonna have to be at war with himself or his own system to kind of get us to a next level and make us unpredictable, especially in the final third? Because we got Gyökeres up there and we're not creating anything really. It's been feeding off scraps.
Of course he does. Of course he does. I think the summer business acknowledges that.
Yeah,
these are players that have to shake you out of, I don't want to say a comfort zone, but you've got to adapt to these players. These players bring different qualities to this team, and you either use them or you don't. Like, did we buy them for no reason, or did we buy them as part of a strategy to shake this team up and to do things a bit differently? I mean, we're only 3 games in. I think it's really difficult, you know, not just with Arsenal, but with every other team to draw any real conclusions.
Yeah, but you know football fans, Andrew.
I know football fans, of course. Yeah, I do, and I get it. And listen, have we seen yet from this Arsenal team all the things we'd like to see this season? No, of course not. But I think you got to give it a bit of time. You've got to let these players settle in. You've got to let the manager figure out a way
work his magic,
use them. And yes, Arteta does have to be different. I mean, you know, the sort of question about whether he's an attacking coach or not is a really interesting one. I think it's
a weird one. He's in the middle.
He is absolutely convinced that the best way to attack is to have a solid defensive platform. No two ways about it, right?
Yeah.
Arsene Wenger, do you remember going into like a league season with Kolo Touré being moved to center half, and everyone's got Kolo Touré at center half? Like, Wenger's philosophy was all about, like, let's get forward and we'll see if our defense can cope. And it did for the invincible season, because we had Ashley Cole and we had Sol Campbell and we had Kolo Touré, who was brilliant at center half, and we had Lauren at right back. Those players could cope. But then, even when we had really good attacking players like Mesut Ozil and Alexis Sanchez, and the defenders couldn't cope. They could not cope. And therefore, you just sort of, you stagnate or you go backwards, right? So Arteta's philosophy has been to build an incredible defense. And it is an incredible
defense.
And it's an incredible defensive unit. Very good goalkeeper, the best central defensive partnership in the world. We've added to that again this season. But I think what he has to do now is trust those defenders a bit more, knowing that they have that kind of quality to allow his team
leave
to
some attackers further up the field.
Exactly. Go forward and express yourself. And the season where we nearly won the league, we scored more goals than the Invincibles. That's not a defensive coach.
Exactly.
But it is a coach whose focus is more defensive than attacking. And I think we have to tip the balance the other way. We have to tip the balance the other way. The defense is good enough. It's solid enough. But we play too many games on the margins where one goal can be the difference. Whereas I think if we can get forward a bit more, and if he is willing to sort of let the defenders defend a bit more, you know what I mean? Leave them exposed a little bit more, because we're taking risks higher up the pitch. I think it could be beneficial. It could be the thing that unlocks the team from an attacking perspective based on what we saw last season. But last season, we didn't have Saka for a long time. We didn't have Havertz for a long time. We didn't have Jesus after January. Like we had Jesus for about 3 weeks last season because he didn't score, and then all of a sudden he was like found his shooting boots, and then he got a big injury, which is
the United
really
game
sad.
came.
You know, Trossard and Martinelli were fine, but they weren't brilliant. You know, we had problems in our attack last season, which we've addressed now because we brought in a winger in Madueke, we've brought in Eze, we brought in a striker. You know,
serious striker that everybody wanted as well.
You've got to let these guys try and do it in the final third. So that's where I think we need to see the change from Arteta. Trust in that defense. Trust in a player like Zubamendi, who he really wants, who's a very, very, very good,
very intelligent,
deep-lying, intelligent midfield, deep-lying midfield player who is defensively stronger than people think. Not because he's a big tackler and he's going to steam into things, but because he reads the game really well.
And you've got Rice as well.
And Declan Rice, who can cover more ground than
like a horse.